Yes, I think President Trump within the next 30 days, he's gonna hit Iran hard, fast, and a limited strike in order to if he wants to do Iran even further, and after, he will continue with the diplomatic pressure, with the intelligence pressure, and also with the economic pressure, and he would leave Iran to rot for the next 4 to 10 years until it collapses. Similar to what previous administration have done with the Iraqi regime of Saddam Hussein after the first Gulf War. Of course, it has. If you look at the Iranian currency, almost every 2 million rial are $1. If you look at the withdrawals from the bank, it's almost like a dollar, dollar and a half from the bank limit, how much money you can withdraw. If you look at, food security, if you look at Iran's ability to actually even recruit because it doesn't have the money as it has before. If you look at the minimum wage in Iran, it's $100. If you look at Iran trying to sell gold right now, basically to be able to support itself, Iran is losing almost 500 maybe $1 million probably a day. And most of the ports in Iran are under sanction, from the US. So down the road, they're going to have a big problem in industries, in export, in import, in food security, water, and eventually gasoline crisis and electricity crisis. Correct. And what have they done? Nothing, including the Gulf countries. Any country that is attacked, they are supposed to do something, like UAE or Saudi Arabia. Unfortunately, Saudi Arabia's position is since Iran's going to be around for the next 10 years while it rottens before the regime is overthrown. So they're trying to minimize any damage, from Iran. I expect UAE will take the initiative and will hit back at Iran and try to liberate its own islands soon. As far as the Europeans, we kind of already dismissed them. The impact that Iran is able to do on the US economy is minimal. If you look at the stock market in the US, it has risen by 20%. If you look at the labor unemployment in the US, it has dropped. It has affected gasoline prices, not because we need, gasoline or crude oil from the Gulf, but because if the price of crude oil goes up in one part of the world, it goes also up in another part of the world. So the direct effect on US consumer is probably less than 1 or 2%, which is nothing compared to the effect on the Iranian people. Yes, yeah. President Trump is at the end of his rope with Iran. He's gonna hit it hard, fast, and he's gonna do a lot of damage. Potentially, he might occupy some islands. Potentially, he might put troops in the Kurdish area in Iran. Potentially, he might send special forces to extract the uranium. Potentially, he might hit the electric power. And then after that, he's going to continue with the naval blockade and he's going to talk to Pakistan to convince it that whatever happens in Iran is not going to invite India and it's no threat to its national security, specifically also like to its territorial integrity, specifically Baluchistan. Same thing. The US will have to sit down with Turkey and lean on her in order to convince Turkmenistan and Azerbaijan to join the siege of Iran and reassure Turkey that, whatever happened to the Kurdish autonomous area inside of Iran is not gonna affect the Turkish integrity of the sovereignty and Turkish integrity. And also we have to sit down, with the Gulf countries as well, specifically Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabia leads most of the Gulf countries and they're trying to kind of, basically let the current situation in Iran blow over the same way they let the situation with Saddam Hussein blow over. UAE is not going to sit idle. You're going to see them taking risk and hitting back soon. Yes, I think the priority for the President Trump is to change the behavior of the regime. It's becoming more and more apparent that this regime is unable to reform and it will break. If you cannot lean, you're gonna break. If a big bear or a big elephant like the United States is pushing against you, 35,000 trillion US dollars pushing at you, $1 trillion worth of defense equipment per year pushing at you. Eventually, they're gonna break this regime. And what's gonna come out of it is probably a disintegrated Iran with the autonomous Kurdish area, autonomous Ahwaz area, autonomous Sistani area, and autonomous Baluchi area. There is no real excuse. The UAE cooperated with the US when Iran, after the latest, revolution that happened prior to the US hitting Iran, they transferred 1.5 billion dollar in cryptocurrency. And the US was able to identify 320 billion that belongs to Mujtaba Khamenei, and they seized the money and UAE cooperated. So that's why you're seeing that vengeance, from Iran. And if you look at the history in the past, when Britain tried to occupy or occupied southern Iran, the attack came from UAE, it came from Basra, and it came from Kurdistan, Iraq. So Basra obviously is, with the Hashd al-Shabi, UAE, they look at UAE as a major threat because it's the underbelly of Iran, and they look at Erbil also as a major threat. So that's why Hashd al-Shabi or Mobilization Popular Force in southern Iraq has been hitting, the Kurdish area in Iraq in order to tie Kurdish area's hand to force you to accept a president that is close to Iran and to scare you into cooperating, with any of the opposition forces in Iran, and also to lean on you, to cooperate more with the central government in that point.